Hey everybody, welcome back to A Worm's Eye View. I am Thatcher.
Tim here.
And it's been a long time since we've recorded in person.
I'm so excited because we are face to face and it feels like the old days, like pre-COVID.
Yeah, well, we were doing this at the beginning of COVID too.
We were?
But,
No, but didn't we start prior to COVID?
Yeah, I was making jokes about it like when it first started, and then little did we know it would ruin our lives. But yeah, our last time together was Epic Movie. So we are back.
Wow.
We are off of Zoom and WebEx. I think Tim is still battling them through
No, I finally got paid back.
Oh, perfect.
For services that I wasn't using.
Services not rendered. But yeah, so Tim was battling them with the Better Business Bureau. But we are in a special location. I came to visit Tim while he's camping because Tim has been camping pretty much the entire summer.
Well, what guy doesn't like to pitch a tent?
That is true. And I have had my two little crotch fruit running around. So it's when we first started this, we thought we'd be able to crank out episodes more frequently than we have.
For sure, yeah.
So if you hear any background noises, I apologize for it. But we're sitting here.
We're with the family and friends at the campsite.
And then some sort of hooligan who wandered into the campground, who has come up in a past episode. I made fun of your quote-unquote Mustang in the John Wick episode.
Yes, this is true.
Because you put Eleanor on a V6 quote-unquote Mustang.
So, yeah.
So it's too bad we weren't doing like a summer slasher or something, but instead we are doing a Three Amigos.
Yes.
Our 80s comedy. But we do have some big news to share before we move on.
We do.
Well, a lot of news, actually. So Etah the Clown got engaged.
He did.
To his lore dog.
Yep. My middle son is engaged to be married, so that was a lot of fun. We played a little, not a prank, but we played I had to help him because he, God rest his soul, he doesn't have a romantic bone in his body, but
well, maybe one from time to time.
Yeah, sometimes it's romantic. But so yeah, I had to help him out a little bit, but it was cool. It was a lot of fun. We have some other big news too.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Tara, who we gave a shout out in, I don't even remember what episode it was.
I don't
John
either.
Wick, maybe?
I think it was Wick, actually.
Yeah, so she now works with us.
She does.
By circumstance, she applied when we had an opening, like 2 seconds before the deadline closed, and she got the job, despite being a fan of ours. Cause,
that's like, do you think somebody's playing hard to get when they submit their application like 2 minutes before the deadline?
Maybe.
Is that what it is?
Maybe so, yeah.
Because I'm usually all over it. The second it opens, I'm like, dump.
You can't pick up the phone on the first ring because you seem desperate, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really care about your job. But yeah, it was funny. It actually came up in the interview that she was a fan of the show.
How much cooler is that, right?
Yeah, right? And they hired her despite that because no one we work with likes the show.
You think? No, there's one. There's gotta be.
Or they like shitting on us that they don't like the
right.
show.
So whatever. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. And then we actually have a listener from the UK.
We do. We're as you know, we're streaming online. Well, no, not streaming. Our episodes are online at Sounder FM. And when I download analytics, I'm able to see what we've got for listeners and where. So we are being downloaded in 2 countries at this point. That's momentous. I think we need to have a shot.
2 continents, nonetheless.
Boom.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the United Kingdom, so, I am, my ancestry is, completely British, so whoop, whoop.
Yeah, whoop, whoop. That's what the British do.
So whoever you are, thanks for listening. Reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah, tell us who you are.
Yeah, we'd love to know how you found us and if you stayed with us or if you bailed immediately our friends and family.
Yeah, or didn't even get on board.
Yeah, that's true. That would be family. Friends checked it out and then quit.
Yeah,
family didn't even show up.
Right.
So for this episode, as picked by the randomizer, it's an 80s comedy, Three Amigos. Tim, I believe, has a soft spot for this in his heart.
I do. This is when I think of spaghetti western, this is exactly what I drum up my whole entire life as a spaghetti western. It wasn't shot in Europe, but it had the effort. It oozed cheese. It was very cheesy, and that's what I loved about it, and that's why I tied it to spaghetti western.
Perfect. And I had never seen this before.
Yeah.
Don't think I'll see it again. So
I knew.
I don't have any nostalgia for it, but do you have any memorable viewings of it or anything like that?
No, I just remember that when I was younger and we used to watch it, I'm pretty sure I watched it over and over. I could never figure out when Nettie is talking about the German plane, and he says, I think it's a mail plane. And when I was little, I'm like, I don't get what he's talking about, because I was thinking the mailman.
Yeah.
So
Like
we'll
the
get into
postal
that.
service,
Yeah. So I didn't get it, but that's the only thing that I could recollect, that I was very young and innocent about it.
All right. Before we get into it, we need a drink pairing. What would you recommend people either drink while they're listening or watching this?
You can start if you'd like.
For me, it was a no-brainer. It'd be tequila, man.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they were all drinking straight tequila, and the white tequila, not the gold.
Right.
Or you could have Corona or Modelo.
I was just gonna say
Or
cerveza.
Dos Equis. Yeah,
Dos Equis,
yeah,
yeah.
cerveza.
Yeah.
I do have or margarita.
Yep.
I've got a quick margarita recipe for you.
Oh, God.
No, it's great. So I make margaritas from scratch. It's only a couple of ingredients, right? So it's tequila, preferably a nice one like Patron or something. 2 shots of water, a shot of agave nectar. You can get it in like the baking aisle, right? It's the sweetener that's made from like cacti or something like that. Agave, right?
Okay.
And 2 shots of tequila, 2 shots of water. Put it in a shaker over ice. Shake it and put it in a glass. Lime juice.
That's what you use.
I forgot
Is that
lime
what
juice.
you use?
And a shot of lime juice. Yes.
So how long have you had that fucking recipe memorized?
A while. Because I've made it. Yeah, I didn't have to look that up. But yeah, you make them from scratch. There's no triple sec, no sugary bar mixes. Just like 4 natural
sugars.
ingredients,
Yeah.
and it tastes way better. It tastes like you're at a cantina.
Ah.
So there you go. There's a little margarita recipe.
Well,
there. And of course, always on the rocks, never frozen, salt, never sugar.
Correct.
Unless you're trying to get your bitch spunk drunk.
Yeah.
And then sugar and whatever
just
she'll take.
hit her over the head.
What about you? What would you pair?
I just said cerveza. But I like yours a lot more because it's so funny because and we'll get to it, but tequila is very prevalent in the movie. So I don't even know why I didn't even think of that.
You dumb.
But you dumb. But I am drinking Corona right now. So.
As am I. You have the premiere though, and I'm drinking the extra out of a 24-ounce can.
Yeah, because you got to catch up.
Like we like to call racetracks. Yeah, because we were a little late, so I chugged a couple of tall boys because Tim's been drinking all day. But,
pretty much. It's directed by John Landis. And
I don't know who that is.
oh, come on.
What else did
really?
he do?
Blues Brothers, Animal House,
All right.
Coming to America, Trading Places, Spies Like Us.
Okay.
Dude, he had a lot. And he also was the, I don't know if you ever watched this, but behind the scenes of Thriller, he directed the video for Michael Jackson Thriller.
I thought you were gonna say he directed the behind the scenes. And I was like, wow, what an accomplishment.
So
Directed
anyways,
the behind the scenes documentary.
yeah, that's like being the host of a Worm's Eye View.
Oh, fuck you. Come at me, bro.
I'm one too. Box office, 39 million this made off a 25 million budget. Tagline is they're down on their luck and up to their necks in senoritas, margaritas, banditos, and bullets.
Nice.
Quick synopsis. 3 cowboy movie stars from the silent era are fired when one of their movies bombs. A career-saving offer, a young Mexican woman, Carmen, offers them a high-paying gig in her village. The 3 jump at the opportunity expecting to do their typical act, but Carmen thinks they're real heroes to hid the villainous and infamous El Guapo. El Guapo. Let's do this, buddy.
All right. And so we're doing the new format here.
Yeah, so if we break this movie into sections, I would say pre-Mexico, because they go to Mexico, so pre-Mexico would be basically the first segment for me.
Sure.
And I have a feeling that this episode is probably going to be about 45 minutes.
Oh, I don't know about that. I've got some things to say.
Okay.
They're not all bad, but because, Tim's like, I'm dying to hear what you have to say about this movie. And I was like, oh, I got things to say.
So we start out, which I think is some musical chops out to the 3 actors, which were Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, and Martin Short. And they're singing at the beginning. They are actually movie actors, and they play 3 cowboys. Mexican cowboys.
Yeah, wearing a lot of makeup. Like, it was noticeable that they were wearing, like, eyeliner in a black and white film.
Yeah.
And, like Tim was saying, it's from the silent era, so it was, where they would talk, but you couldn't hear anything, and then it would show the screen.
Subtitles.
With the subtitles after, so that was all right. But right off the bat, I gotta say, do you think Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, and Martin Short would be movie stars now?
Now?
Yeah,
No. No, but that's like saying, do you think the Beatles would be a band right now?
Well, my point behind that is I'm not a big fan of any of these three.
I know you're not.
And I don't dislike them per se, but I feel like there was just such a limited talent pool back in the day. For instance, there's a guy who lives in town who used to play linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 60s. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's an impressive accomplishment compared to me, who's taken 0 NFL snaps.
Okay.
But NFL superstars were not what they were now back in the 60s,
Okay, yep.
where now the competition is so fierce that they're breeding super freaks to go into the NFL, right? It's like the prime athletes. It's the best of the best. Where to play linebacker in the 60s, you just had to
Be big?
Be big. And be stupid enough to take hits to the head for $20,000. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's my whole point is I think Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin Short came up in an era where the talent pool was so thin that they stood out. I just don't think any of them really have...
Chops?
Yeah, I really don't. I don't think there's anything overly impressive about any of the three of them.
Back then, you didn't really have, I guess, what you have now to compare it to. So
No, you had some up and coming people like Tom Cruise. Even though he's insane, he I think really stood out in the '80s.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, it's just you look at those three and you're just like, really, these guys were A-list celebrities, Okay, so I just have to get that out there to start with.
Okay.
I don't dislike them per se, but it was just ugh. But then I'm watching the credits and it's oh, Joe Montana is in this. Not Joe Montana, but Montana, right?
Yep.
He was Fat Tony in The Simpsons and he was on Criminal Minds and stuff like that. Phil Hartman.
Yep.
Oh boy, I'm getting excited, right? I'm all right, this is
they
gonna...
were more cameos, so.
You ain't shitting. Hell is that?
What the hell was that?
It was an air raid siren.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have...
From across the lake. I'm leaving that in, by the way. I'm not going to cut that out. But yeah, Tim and I both were what in the hell is that? So yeah, that's part of the ambient noise. We're sitting adjacent the fire, friends and family off talking around the fire while we do this.
Yeah, I mean, we can't even get them to listen to the podcast while we're fucking recording it. I mean, that is the level of commitment this family gives to us.
Right. So it starts with them doing their movie stars. They're doing a black and white film.
Yep. And it's kind of cutting through it, and they're going through their whole mantra. They have this whole thing where, wherever there's injustice, you will find us. Wherever there is trouble, we'll be there. And whenever liberty is threatened, you'll find the three amigos. And they do this whole thing, and they look, like they're all these saintly cowboy heroes. Come to find out, they are acting, obviously. And
what would you call their outfits, though? Other than bedazzled and
you know what it reminded me of is a bullfighter with a big with a big sombrero on.
Yeah, very bedazzled, very bright.
Yeah, I mean, one of the guys calls somebody else in the bar in this scene a sissy, and it's like a sissy cowboy outfit to me.
No, not yet though.
No,
and it wasn't them.
No, I know, but that's what it reminds me of, a sissy cowboy.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know as if that exists. Does that exist? Do we have any listeners out west where you have cowboys are notorious for being farm strong. In Rhode Island, farm strong. I wonder, are there sissy cowboys out there?
I bet. Brokeback Mountain.
This is true. This is true.
So in the timeline, it does bounce around a little bit, but I don't think the timeline's super important. So essentially, what happens is they, like Tim said, one of their movies bombed, so they go to the studio, talking to the execs, and they get a little bit lippy. And this is in the room is Joe Montana, Phil Hartman, a couple other big name actors that I can't recall their names at the time. And I was like, this is gonna be fucking great. They end up getting fired.
Yep.
Right. Kicked off the lot. And they take their clothes away because they're oh, that's studio property. So they're running around Hollywood circa 1920 in 20s underwear. It's long johns and shit like that, even though it's Southern California.
And while this is happening, there's this Mexican girl in her village watching their silent film. And she goes to the local post office, which back then was that Was that Morse code that they
Yes,
used?
that was a telegraph. So Tim, for our listeners, was sitting there tapping the table with his middle finger. Yes, that's Morse code sent via telegraph. Yeah.
So and it says, and it's she's saying, "Hey, Three Amigos, you are great. Please come to our village, save us from the evil El Guapo." No, they say infamous, and the guy go, okay, that's 35 pesos, and she's like, oh, I only brought 10.
Yeah,
He's like, I'll give you the 10 versions,
Yeah.
and it said something like, come to Santa Poco, 100,000 pesos, put on show, defeat the infamous El Guapo.
Yeah.
And so they get the telegraph, and they think it's a gig, a movie
Right.
gig.
Yeah, so it was like the original Twitter character limit. She wrote like this page-long thing, and apparently you get charged per the tap or something like that. So they were like, all we have is 10 pesos, and he's like, all right. So he goes through and, like Tim said, cut it up a little bit and missed the gist of the message. So
Right.
yeah, they were like, oh, okay, we just got fired. So we're down on our luck. Like they were like thinking about going to get quote unquote normal jobs because
Yeah.
their careers were essentially over. And they were like, oh, look at this. Mexico loves us. We'll go put on this show for Mexico. $100,000 pesos.
Yep. And well, at first he's like, infamous. What does that mean? He goes, it's more than famous. He's not famous. He's infamous.
Yeah.
And he's
So-
like, whoa, this is the biggest actor to come out of Mexico.
Yeah. So they were like, well, they want our Three Amigos costumes. So they break back into the studio so that they can steal their costumes.
What did you think? What did you think of the breaking in video sequence?
Like the bird call? That was pretty funny. So yeah, Steve Martin, right?
Yep.
And I can't remember. Yeah, I remember Martin Short's character was like Ned
Ned
Nederson or
Ned
something.
Niederlande,
But I don't remember Dusty something.
Dusty something, and then
Rusty trombone. Yeah, I don't remember these characters' names.
Lucky, Dusty, and Ned.
So yeah, these aren't the characters' names, but I'm just gonna refer to them as the actors going through the movie because I can't keep them straight, and that's part of the problem with this movie. I think is there was no character development. But
For sure.
But I'll get to that when we get to it. But yeah, so Steve Martin's character is up on the wall and is trying to signal down to the other two that the coast is clear, and he did some impressive bird sounds, and he was like. Up here, but it actually sounded like a bird. And finally, he's like, "Listen, assholes!" Like, and they're like, "Oh, hey!" And they're like literally right below him.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
So they scale over the wall. They get their uniforms. They get chased out by the
Security.
Yeah, the
Yep.
lot security or whatever. But that's fine, and they're on their way to Mexico.
Mexico. And this isn't like spring break Mexico.
Well, kinda.
I guess.
Yeah.
There were a few senoritas in this. We'll
Yeah.
get to the hottest babe. I bet we picked the same one.
Probably.
So they show up, and they show up via carriage, and they're in front of this bar. Well, what we didn't mention is prior to this, Carmen sending a telegraph to the Three Amigos, she tried out this bar to find somebody local that would help them, and nobody helped them. She was in fact molested while she was in the bar and chased out.
Yeah.
So they show up at the same bar, and you know what? Even prior to this, there was the German that went into the bar.
Yeah, so that's the thing. The timeline not super important, but yeah, right.
This part it would be.
Right before the Three Amigos show up at this bar in this Mexican town, this German shows up, and he's wearing. It looks like he's basically like a German fighter pilot. Like
Yep.
it could have been the Red Baron minus the scarf, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he comes strolling into the bar, and all of these very rough Mexican fellows, gunslingers, kind of give him a hard time, and so he pulls out his his revolver was very shiny and very fancy, and they kept like, hey,
Where'd you get that pretty little gun?
yeah, and finally, he was trying to have a conversation with the bartender. He shoots a couple of them and goes back to the bartender and says, "Hey, I've got a couple gentlemen coming here to meet me. Tell them to wait here."
Yep.
you know, and he says something along the lines of like, if you think I'm bad or have lack of patience, you don't want to meet the next two guys. Like, you know,
Yeah.
they're rough. And he's like, okay, no problem. I'll pass the message along. And the German guy disappears.
And the Stooges.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
they are.
Yeah.
So the three amigos show up out front and strut in. They're obviously dressed a lot flashier, and they sort of resemble the German because the German was very clean, and like you said, Red Baron. So these guys, obviously to the Mexicans, appear to be the Germans' friends. So this right here is my favorite scene in the movie. Because it's so funny that everybody's petrified of the three amigos, these actors.
Yeah.
So they take it as they're starstruck. All these Mexicans are starstruck because of the, you know, and I love the bartender. So they go up to the bar and he's like, I have a message for you. And he's like, mm-hmm. He's like, the German guy says, wait here. And so they're like, okay.
And I think it was Steve Martin looks at him as like, like, I understand, but you can see like the wheels are turning and it's like, what in the fuck is he talking about? But yeah, like Tim was saying, they walk in looking very flamboyant, and because like, you know, everybody in the bar looks very rough,
they're dirty and
rough and tough, and you know, it looks like a biker bar or a pirate bar, but it's Mexico in the 20s. And so, yeah, everyone's afraid of them because of the interaction they had with the Red. I'm just gonna call that guy the Red
Baron.
Yeah, they think they're starstruck.
But it's so great, the bartender, because I love his voice. So he's like, so Chevy's like, and I'm sorry, but Dusty says, well, if we get some time to kill, I'll have a beer. And the bartender's like, we don't have no beer.
No beer.
Just tequila. And Ned's like, what's tequila? He's like, sort of like beer.
Yeah.
Which it's nothing like.
Yeah, nope.
So he's like, okay, well, 3 tequilas. So he gives them a shot. They take it, and they obviously get all pucker factor, and they show it. They twitch and shit. And then they try to calm the bar down because everybody's just quiet and staring at them by doing a dance number.
Yeah, I don't remember what the song was, but it was something.
Dear My Little Buttercup.
Yeah, my little buttercup, sweet little butter. Yeah, and their dance, they just look obnoxious. So finally, they leave, and in walk the other two Germans that the Red Baron was referring to, and they're in like sleek, like gray suits and stuff. And so they walk in, and somebody goes, "Look at the sissies!"
Yeah.
And so those two take offense to it and get into a gunfight and shoot the place up.
Yep.
Look at the 2 little sissies! This town's getting too rough for me.
And I just found it funny that they think these people were afraid of them and they thought they were starstruck. And
Yeah.
it made me think, do actors feel that way about fans that they meet?
I'm sure.
No.
Yeah, I think so. Like, you know, or like when Reese Witherspoon got arrested, and she's like, "Don't you know who the fuck I am?" You know what I mean? It's like,
They think that they're different.
Yeah, and it is weird too, because I was thinking about that a little bit. For instance, once you get to the status of celebrity, even if you go bankrupt like MC Hammer or something like that, you have so many fans that you can just do appearances and make money based on who you are, i.e. Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick was a washed up quarterback who was like, how do I make myself relevant again? And I don't want this to get into a race or a political thing, but I'm a big NFL fan. Colin Kaepernick was a washed up second string quarterback before he decided to start kneeling during the national anthem. He found a way to make himself relevant again.
Yeah.
And then Nike turned around and saw it as an opportunity and gave him millions of dollars based on him standing up for something. Right. And like I said, I don't care about the politics. I don't care about the race relations, but Colin Kaepernick was a nobody after he lost that Super Bowl and ended up riding the bench in San Francisco. He found a way to make himself relevant again. Same thing with these celebrities, like MC Hammer. He went bankrupt.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like his music got him famous at a certain point, so people were paying him for his music, but now no one's going to pay him for his music, but they would pay him based on his celebrity. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Follow.
So it is crazy. Like once you reach that, like you don't have to
work.
Yeah, you don't have to do
Yeah.
anything. You just make money off of who you are and the fact that somebody out there cares that you're famous.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I don't know. It is weird. Cosmically, it's just a weird thing. But yeah, I think that part, it rings pretty true that they're like, oh yeah, we're a big fucking deal.
Okay.
Or even if they're not a celebrity, that's how a narcissist thinks, at least. You know what I mean? So
True.
So I think there's
True.
some non-celebrities who think that way.
For sure,
Like somebody, like let's say somebody at work, and I'm not thinking of anybody in particular, but somebody at work doesn't get along with other people or gets a negative review or something like that. Rather than look inward and go, what's wrong with me? They go,
Point everything else out.
you're intimidated by me.
Right.
No, you just suck or you're an asshole. You know what I mean? But that's just a way of somebody thinks. So they wander off.
Yeah, they head out. And Carmen, the lady who telegraphed them, sees them coming out and intercepts them and says, "Oh, we'll take you to Santa Poco." So they're like, "Oh, okay, finally we bumped into somebody that knows what we're supposed to be doing."
There's the air horn again. All aboard! Either that or duck and cover. The Germans are coming. I don't know. One or the other.
So,
Oh, real quick. At
Yeah.
this point, I feel like there was a missed opportunity for this movie. Well, not yet. So I kind of saw how this was heading, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I watched this with Heather, and I was like, this is like Tropic Thunder. I think that Tropic Thunder ripped this premise off. I said they're gonna like get into a real gunfight thinking that they're acting, but it's like a real thing. And that's essentially what happens, except for they abandon it very quickly. And for those of you who haven't seen Tropic Thunder, they go to Vietnam to like shoot a action movie. And they're actually in a war zone. The actors don't know they're in a war zone. Like they step on a landmine and they're like, holy shit, that's really good special effects. And it's just a pretty cool premise.
so they totally ripped off the Three Amigos.
Kinda, except for, like I said, Three Amigos. This is where I thought it was going, except for they abandoned it after like the next scene. But I digress. Continue.
Right,
So
yeah.
Carmen brings them to the Santa Poco.
Yeah, come to Santa Poco.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Very good.
I know I watched it last night, but Santa Poco.
So they're there, and
Come get my pico de gallo
cerveza.
or my pescado.
What is that?
Fish.
Pescado is fish.
Yeah, get it?
Oh.
Carmen pescado.
Yeah. We if we have a restaurant, that'll be one of the dishes.
Yeah, Carmen's pescado. Yo necesito uno pescado.
Uno pescado. Dos pescado.
Or it might be because it ends with, I don't know. I don't know my articles of Spanish. I never took Spanish. I took French. That was a big mistake.
No.
Ay, Dios míos.
So they're in
They're in
Santa
Santa
Poco
Poco.
and are kind of briefed by the town as to what's going on, and they still believe that they're in bed. They're sharing a bed, and
Like a twin-size bed,
Yeah.
too. Like 3 grown-ass men in their long johns and now in Mexico in like a twin-size bed.
so they're talking. What are you gonna do with your share of the money? He's like, oh, I'm gonna buy a fancy car and drive around.
Silver one.
Yeah, and oh, I'm gonna go to Paris, or I'm gonna do that. And then they ask Ned, "What are you gonna do?" And he's like, "I'm gonna start a children's charity." And then,
Yeah, what a dick.
So-
Fuck you, Ned.
So they wake up the next day, and they're supposed to meet El Guapo and chase them away. You know, he's supposed to threaten the town and chase them away. So what happens actually is that 3 of El Guapo's men are close by, getting liquored up by a piñata. I'd say it's a cactus I'm thinking of. So,
Piñata.
so they're getting liquored up, and they run out of tequila. So they're like, "Let's go to Santa Poco and get some tequila."
That's pretty good.
So they
That's pretty good accente you got there.
so they go into there, and they're shooting their guns, and the student.
If we have to come into the cantina, we gonna kill you.
Yeah.
You bring the tequila out.
The Amigos are watching. They're all suited up, and they come out and they basically insult the 3 guys. He says, You son of a motherless goat, you scum-sucking pig."
Yeah, and then Ned muffs his line. He goes, shit, he's like, what was my
Line,
line?
please, line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the 3 bandits, if you will,
They-
they're just looking at him completely confused. And then the Amigos start circling him, shooting their guns in the air, like twirling them, doing the whole show. And the bandits are just like, what the fuck? Like,
And you know what this made me think of? And this is a completely strange analogy, but it reminds me of me and like my buddies when we were younger, going to the
El
club.
Fraco.
Going to the club and trying to dance up some chicks. And we're circling them, and they're
they're
just
just
staring
staring.
at us. That's what it reminded me of.
You ain't got no game, man.
Oh, give me your pesos. No, what did you call it? Pointas?
Pescado.
Pescado. I want the pescado. I'll circle you.
Or gato is cat. So, meow, pussy.
All right.
Gato. I like pescado better.
Yeah, because gato. No,
Gato.
Gato.
G.
Why didn't they just say cato? Why'd they have to do gato? What the fuck? It's so easier to say cato. And then everybody you're talking to knows what the fuck you're talking about.
But yeah, so they ride off and they're like, whatever, man. We got our tequila and we're going to head back.
Yeah, he's like, let's go tell El Guapo what we've seen here.
Yeah, so of course the villagers are super impressed and that
Throw
they
a
chased
huge
him
party,
off.
yep.
And the three amigos are like, that was pretty easy. Like, you know.
He's like, yeah, I forgot a line though.
Yeah, he's like, shit. And they're like, it's okay. Like, you'll remember it. And yeah, they're having a party. There's one really funny part. I did laugh out loud. So this girl like throws herself at Chevy Chase. This is part of my problem though. There was, unlike most of the movies we watched, there was a lot of eye candy.
In this movie?
Yeah. There
Oh,
was.
yeah, there was a good
like,
amount.
There was like 4. So I don't know who you're going to pick for Best Babe. But
Okay.
there was like 4 or 5 like smoking hot chicks. I don't know any of their names except for Carmen because there was like no fucking character development at all.
Nope.
But yeah, so this one girl comes up to him and she's like, have you ever kissed a girl before? And he's like, yeah, many times. She's like, would you like to kiss me? He's like, that'd be kind of nice. While he's sitting there playing the guitar. It just reminds me of Tim, like, at the campground, like, Jill probably throwing herself at him. And
Yeah,
he's like,
right.
He's like, hang on.
Okay.
Neil Peart is the greatest drummer ever. And so she's like, you want to kiss me? And he's like, oh, you meant now? Like, here? And she's like, well, we could walk down and you could kiss me on the veranda. And he goes, the lips would be fine. I like spat out my drink and I was like, all right, that's pretty fucking funny. And kiss me on the veranda. And
He's like,
"Ah,
lips will be fine. Yeah, I thought that was a really good line.
But yeah, so then
So they've got, and then Dusty, and then
Dusty
Lucky.
Trombone.
Lucky's like wowing the crowd with his roping abilities, and then Ned's talking about meeting a famous actress.
and he's talking to little kids.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was kind of creepy.
Yeah, it was like so. The other,
But he's innocent. Of the 3 amigos, he's innocent.
he is. But yeah, the other 2 were talking to like beautiful women, and Ned was surrounded by like 7-year-old girls.
But that's because Ned's innocent.
Yeah. So then
The next morning, the bell's going off, and Carmen pops in and says, "Well, God, El Guapo's outside, 50 of his men, and they're hung over because they had partied."
oh yeah.
And they're like, "What again?"
Oh, another fucking show. Like they're ready for us because yeah, El Guapo. He gets report of these 3 assholes that chased off his guys, and he's like, "I'm gonna roll them motherfuckers," right?
Yep.
So yeah, they're like, getting dressed. They're all hungover, and they come out and do the exact same spiel. And El Guapo is there with his guys, and he's just like staring at him. He's like, "What in the fuck?" And then yeah, at a certain point, like, I think it's a very famous line.
Oh, yeah. He's like, well, he goes, "These guys are funny guys. I like them." And he's like, "Just kill one of them."
I like these guys. They are funny guys. Just kill one of them.
So his little counterpart, Hefe,
Yeah.
just pulls out his revolver and shoots one, and he goes launching off the horse, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And the other guy's like, "All right, time out, time out."
Yeah, it's Steve Martin gets shot in the arm. And he's like, and so he goes marching over to him, and he goes, "Let me see your gun." And Hefe looks at Guapo, and he's like, just nods at him, and he hands him the gun. He goes, "I knew it." He goes, "They're using real bullets." He's like, "Are you insane? Like, why are you using real bullets?" And then he kind of looks up and down, and this actually is a really good piece of acting, because in his eyes, all of a sudden, he goes like, holy
Yeah.
shit, this is real, without saying anything. And you get that, like, he was like, and that's why I was disappointed, is I was hoping that there was going to be more to it than that, and they abandoned it so quickly. Like, I thought that there was going to be an entire 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, they could
where-
have played it up a lot
Yeah,
more.
where they were like under the impression that this was fake, but it was real. But it was like 30 seconds and it was done. He was like, oh my God. So he's like, 1 second, I'll be right back. I'll just be right back, guys. And they just kind of stand in formation like it was Braveheart, right? And he goes back, he goes, this is fucking real, real. And then they just instantly
Start crying.
All three of them start whimpering, like, oh, I'm gonna die. Like, ooh.
Yeah. And they go and apologize to El Guapo. And they say, we just want to go home. And he's like, El Guapo says, El Guapo only kills men. He does not kill crying women.
Yeah, you little bitches.
So
I'm ad-libbing, of course. But.
he sends them off. They take off, and they pillage the town, blow things up, and they kidnap Carmen. Because El Guapo wants to get in her putzatzis. Or what did you call it?
Pescado.
Pescado.
Putzatzis.
Why don't they just call it a caca?
I don't know.
The cat.
Oh, gato.
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 They want to get into so El Guapo wants to get into Carmen's
El gato.
Gato.
Yeah.
So they take off, and then the Amigos actually show up to grab their stuff now that El Guapo is gone.
They burned down the village of Santa Poco.
True.
Yeah. So they burned down the village, and the three Amigos flee like little bitches.
Yeah.
Oh, we did miss a funny line that Tim has told me long before we picked this movie. With the randomizer, Tim has actually said this to me before at work. He goes, if you die, can I have your watch?
Yeah.
Because one of the little kids comes up and says that to one of them. I can't remember who.
Can I have your watch when you are dead?
What did he say?
That made me laugh too, and I was like, oh, Tim said that to me before, long before we picked this movie. But yeah, so finally they're like, all right, like, let's go home. This is a bunch of bullshit. We didn't sign up for this, and I bet these motherfuckers ain't even gonna pay us our 100,000 pesos. And then kind of going back to the celebrity thing we were talking about, they were like, we don't really have a life or a job outside of this, so even though we could die, like, fuck it, if we rescue Carmen, maybe she'll touch our pee-pee. You know what I mean? So we might as well. we might as well go for it, right? So because we've got nothing left. Like, our lives are in shambles. We have no discernible skills.
Yeah, and it's actually Ned that talks the other two into it.
Yeah, surprisingly so. So they're like, all right. So they head to El Guapo's compound.
Yeah. Well, they were given directions by the little boy. And Ned wrote them down in his thing.
Yeah.
And I knew this is the part of the movie you wouldn't like, but this is the part that I love them. I love second to the bar scene.
Take it away then, please.
So they go on horseback, and they're supposed to head west until you meet the singing bush, and once summon the singing bush. And you'll summon the invisible swordsman or whatever. So they get there, and there's this bush that's singing, she'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. And they start talking to the bush, trying to say, are you the singing bush? And the bush is just singing. I find it funny because it's so obvious, but yet they're trying to confirm. So they're there doing that, and they do their little chant, and they're supposed to say something and then fire a shot in the air. Well, Dusty at this point is so pissed off at these guys for doing this silliness, he fires his shot just to his side, and he shoots the invisible horseman, which dies.
Yeah.
And that was the way to get to El Guapo's.
Yep.
Now, did you write anything down that indicated how they got there?
No. I can't. No.
Because now I'm wondering how. Oh, it was the plane.
Oh,
it was
that's
the German
right.
plane.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So as this happens, the German plane goes overhead, and they're like, "Oh, I bet that's going to El Guapo's or something like that." And that's how they figure out how to get there. But they do spend the night out in the desert.
Oh, yeah,
And it's
that's true. This is probably the stupidest scene.
No, that's one of the good one.
You think so? Because, yeah, there's a clearly, like, a canvas backdrop, like, and not one of those,
Spaghetti
like,
Western. That's
like they made it look cheesy on purpose, and then a real coyote shows up, which
and a bobcat.
That was kind of
and
impressive,
an owl.
and then like an animatronic turtle and stuff, and they start singing the boom 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 boom. I don't know the lyrics.
They're trying to get Ned to go to sleep.
Yeah, and what were they eating?
Wait, were they?
They were eating
mezcal?
Bats.
Oh, bats, yeah.
So Heather and I just looked at each other and went, COVID!
yeah. That's pretty good. I didn't even pick up on that.
They were, all three of them were eating bats, and we were like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Little cowboy, close your eyes and dream. All of the doggies chickens are in the corral. All of your work is done. Just close your eyes and dream, little pal. Dream of someone. Boom, 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 boom.
But yeah, so that was like, it wasn't a bad scene per se, but that was like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And do you want me to talk about that now or later? This movie was an hour and 45 minutes.
You can talk about it now.
Unnecessary. Like, that's the thing. I feel like this movie could have used another pass in the edit bay, because there was just a lot of stuff where it's like, why was that in here? It really didn't provide any laughs. And I think that's my problem, is like at a certain point, like, so Heather and I watched this last night to get prepared for this. And I was like, all right, this movie's got to be just about over. Like, we'll put the kids down and finish it up. So, like, I paused it, and it was at 55 minutes of an hour and 45. And I was like, holy shit, why? Why? Now, granted, it's not 2.5 hours, like, fucking Into the Wild. I'm going to bring that movie up every episode. But it was just like, why? It was just poorly paced. And I know it's a comedy, but it's like a lot of the stuff that could have been cut. For instance, the campfire scene that we're talking about right now, that could have been like 2 minutes, but it dragged on for like 7 minutes, and it's like, I don't think it made me smile once, other than when the turtle went bum 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 bum.
No, the turtle said no. The horses were doing the.
Oh,
bum,
that's
bum,
right. What did the turtle say?
Well, Ned says to him, he's getting sleepy now. He says, "Good night, Dusty. Good night, Lucky." And then Lucky and Dusty in turn, and then the turtle goes, "Good night, Ned."
Good night, Ned.
Yeah, all right, that's right.
So,
but yeah, so it was like 7 minute setup for like that one. Like,
so it was filler. It was obviously filler.
It was.
Now, and this is why even the actors gave, Chevy Chase gave Landis a lot of flack for this, and Chevy Chase is known in the industry as being not fun to work with and mean. I think all of them except for Martin Short. I don't think Martin Short had a bad rap in Hollywood.
No, I don't think so either. Because Steve Martin, I don't think was.
No, he's definitely uppity, but
and that's the thing. Going back to my earlier comment,
well,
like, these guys, like, I don't.
They thought their shit didn't stink when it actually did.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, I think they were just in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
I feel like if they were 20 years old now, no one would have cast them in any of their roles, and then they have these egos. So that's why it's like hard to root for them,
True, but I didn't know that until you said something to me a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I grew up watching them, so I always thought they didn't have a ton of talent to me, but they filled the role okay.
Yeah.
They didn't have really, think about the roles, like you brought up Tom Cruise. Think about some of the roles he's been in that these guys didn't even try to tackle.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, it's just like Caddyshack, like Chevy Chase was in that, but when you think of Caddyshack, are you like, oh, that's the Chevy Chase movie?
No, I think of the Gopher.
Yeah.
I know.
Or Bill Murray, or anybody else.
True.
Like, you're like, oh yeah, he was in that movie. Like, I forgot,
But
or like
if
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, are you like, oh, that's that Steve Martin flick? Nope.
Right. This one, they're obviously splitting the roles. The only one I really think of Steve Martin in is Roxanne.
Oh, I go Father of the Bride.
Okay, yeah. I didn't. I think I saw that once.
Yeah, and again, but in semantics. So I agree with you. This scene is filler, but an hour and 45 minutes, you don't need filler. Hour 15, you do. But like 90 minute runtime is like your standard quote unquote movie length, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. Is it's just like that's a lot. Like 7 minutes of footage for one, not even laugh out loud, just like that was kind of clever,
Yeah, and that's where Chevy Chase was pretty unimpressed with Landis on this, and he openly did it on the Letterman show. Directors are gonna have their shits once in a while, so they're
they had the El Guapos.
Yep, and it's so they infiltrate. So basically, what they do is they infiltrate, and they're gonna get Carmen back, but. Let's hit on just the huge points from the infiltration and the escape. 3 for me that were great.
Okay.
Was Dusty says, I'll throw a rock and distract the guard. So he throws the rock, hits the guard, he falls off the tower and dies.
Yeah. They're like, oh, that was good.
That worked. Then they all get on the ropes and kind of fly in or slide in. So one of them lands in Carmen's room into the closet. The rope swings there. The next one, he just lands right on the ground because the rope was too long. And then Ned gets stuck up in a piñata because his spurs of his boots get locked up in a piñata and he's above where everybody's partying. And that, it would be, I knew it would be funny.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how they'd bring it in. So then they're having this huge party. They've thrown Lucky into jail and chained him against the wall.
Yes. Which is the Steve Martin character, yeah.
Yep. And Dusty's in the room with Carmen.
Yes.
And this is where they're gonna escape. Carmen says to him, "Well, hey, what's next?" And he's like, "I don't know. We didn't think this would work."
Yeah, we only thought of step 1, and we didn't think step 1 would work. So what I think is step 2. So for me, there was only like a couple standout moments. Some broad comes up to Carmen and goes,
yeah.
She's like, El Guapo is gonna make you his woman tonight, and she's like, no, and she's like, do you know what foreplay is? And she just kind of gives her a blank look. She goes, oh, good. He don't either. And I thought that was pretty funny.
Yep.
And so, of course, I turned and looked at Heather, and I was like, God damn right. And that was good.
Yeah.
That was good timing.
Yeah.
Carmen, today is El Guapo's birthday, and tonight you ought to be El Guapo's woman.
I would sooner die.
Let me prepare you for the way El Guapo makes love. Tell me, Carmen, do you know what foreplay is?
No.
Good. Neither does El Guapo.
Jefe, German arrived yet?
Not yet, Guapo. Many presents have been coming for your birthday.
German has the only presents I want. Guns! Guns, so that the name of El Guapo will be hanging on everyone's lips.
He will be here, Guapo. But I think you would like your other presents, too. I have put many beautiful piñatas in the storeroom, each of them filled with little surprises.
Many piñatas?
Oh, yes, many.
Would you say I have a plethora of piñatas?
A what?
A plethora.
Oh, yes. You have a plethora.
Jefe, what is a plethora?
Why, Guapo?
Well, you told me I have a plethora. And I just would like to know if you know what a plethora is. I would not like to think that a person would tell someone he has a plethora and find out that that person has no idea what it means to have a plethora.
Forgive me, Guapo. I know that I, Jefe, do not have your superior intellect and education. But could it be that once again, you are angry at something else and are looking to take it out on me?
Like what, Jefe?
Could it be because you are turning 40 today?
No.
Could it be because Carmen chooses to sleep in her cell instead of with you? Why don't you just take her? When you want cattle, you take the cattle. When you want food, you take the food. When you want a woman, you just take the woman. Why don't you just take her?
Jefe, you do not understand women. You cannot force open the petals of a flower. When the flower is ready, it opens itself up to you.
When do you think Carmen will open up her flower to you?
Tonight, or I will kill her.
¡El Guapo! ¡Ahí viene el avión!
There's the German now. Right on time. We must make him welcome.
Then I think it was Chevy Chase ended up grabbing like the enemy's uniform or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so El Guapo, who is actually pretty charismatic for like a bad guy, like you didn't like root against him.
No,
per se.
no.
You liked him, right?
Yeah.
He was going through, and it was his birthday celebration. He's talking to everybody. He's like, "Yeah, we did this together." And he comes up to Chevy, and Chevy's just making shit up. He's like, "Yeah, we did this." He's like, "Yeah."
It's pretty funny scene. I completely didn't even. I totally disregarded.
And he had had him going for a while. He's like, yeah, we trimmed the hedges together. And he's like, yeah.
Well, he's like, we raped the horses.
Yeah.
And then he's like, we rode the women.
Yeah.
And pruned the hedges of many small villages.
That's it. And then at a certain point, he's like,
who the hell are you?
yeah, who is this guy? And they pull off his uniform, and of course, he's like, I knew it.
Carlos! We fought together the priests of this mission. Pedro! We crushed the federales in the plains of Oaxaca. Pedro! You! Jose! Together we burned the village! And raped the horses! And we
rode off on the women.
rode off on the women! And we plundered! And pruned
The hedges
hedges
of many small villages.
of many small villages. Who the hell are you? Another one of the goddamn gringos! Take this monkey away! Put him with the other Yankee maricon!
Yeah, and he's like, and right then he goes, what is this? Gringos falling from the sky? And that's when Ned falls from the piñata and lands on the table.
What is happening around here today? Are gringos falling from the sky? Yes, El Guapo.
So Steve Martin finally breaks out of his like little
That's
weird
what it was,
weight
yeah.
torture machine thing, and is able to take over the entire village with a single pistol. He's like, "Put down your guns, or I'll shoot El Guapo." And they're like, "Okay," and they just drop down their pistols. And I was like, "All right."
And right before that, Ned, the German says, when Ned falls on the table, the German says, "Don't touch this man. I know who he is." And he's like, "You're my favorite star of the silver screen. I've looked up to you.
yeah.
You're the fastest gunslinger, and I studied your every move. And then I found out that you were a phony because of Hollywood tricks." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't do tricks. I'm not fast." And he's like, "Well, let's prove it. Well, as you say, do in your German accent. We'll play for keeps."
We'll play for keeps.
That's German?
I don't know. We'll play for keeps.
There you go. That's better. So they're
Off to the showers with you.
they're in a shootout. What do they call that back in the day? A
Duel?
gunfight, a
A
duel.
duel.
Yeah. So they're dueled, and Hefe comes up to Ned, and he goes, "You don't want to die with no sissy gun like this. You want to die with a man's gun." And he gives him a huge pistol.
Yeah, giant revolver, like a 18-inch barrel.
And well, Ned is fast and blows the German away. And that's
does.
when, Dusty makes his, and they all pull their guns. Another bit was, when Dusty says to all right, everybody throw down your guns. Chevy Chase does too, and he's like, "Not you, Dusty."
Yeah. He's like, "Oh shit," and picks it back up. Yeah, and we did miss a little bit. The whole reason the Germans were involved with this movie is they were selling like World War I Mausers, like bolt action rifles, to El Guapo and his people.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't know. It wasn't relevant to the plot at all, other than they followed.
That's how you tie the Germans
They
in.
followed the plane to El Guapo's compound, but again, it was just like, what? Why? Like, and it was El Guapo's birthday, and that's why. I don't know. And yeah, he wanted to demonstrate the marksmanship of these new Mausers. So he's like, "Who's that guy up there?" And El Jefe was like, "Oh, that's Santiago." And he's like, "Oh, hold your sombrero up high," so he could shoot it. And he ended up shooting like Santiago or whatever his name was. But yeah, it was stuff like that. It was just like, what? The Germans really didn't play much of a role in this plot.
I know.
Other than dragging out the runtime. I don't know. I don't know. That's my big beef with the movie.
They didn't add a huge bit.
No. And then so finally they escape from El Guapo's compound and they head back to Santa Poco.
Santa Poco.
Yep. Yeah,
And-
Pescado.
And they're all like, they rescued Carmen, and then they're like, "Oh, Guapo's on his way," and they're like, "Oh, what do we do?" And he's like, and this is
That was perfect timing. Oh no! What do we do? Oh no!
the Amigos are asking the town, what is it this town does really well? And it's all quiet. And then a lady says,
We sew.
so, and in a very cool twist, I didn't expect this. I know the first time I saw it, but so the townspeople sew a bunch of Three Amigos costume, and they play a spoof on El Guapo, and they're all dressed, and magically they all have guns, and they're all shooting at El Guapo's people. So his people, most of his people take off. Jefe says to him, he's like, I'm still here, El Guapo. And right as he says that, he gets nixed like he's on the beach at Utah or something.
Yeah. So, yeah, like Tim was saying, magically there's like 50 uniforms of like the Three Amigos. And they all have guns all of a sudden. But every time you could see it, even though it's from a distance,
It's them.
it's the three of them. So it was kind of funny. But also, my favorite part of the movie is they gave them, like, the town a motivational speech. And he was like, it's time you stand up against your El Guapo. He goes, for everybody else, your El Guapo is something else. It might be your lack of education as your El Guapo. He goes,
Your shyness.
He goes, for us, our El Guapo is a man who wants to kill us.
Who happens to be the real El Guapo.
Yeah. And that was like the hardest I laughed in the movie. I was like, all right, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so of course, like,
El Guapo gets shot, and he's, his dying breath, and the Amigos walk up, and he's like, that was some good trick. And he's like, come here, I want to tell you something. And El Guapo has enough strength to fire a bullet, but what does he do? He just grazes one of the Three Amigos' feet and says, that's some good trick too. And then he dies.
Yeah.
And that was, other than that, I mean, they say their goodbyes, and there's three women that approach the Amigos and each give them a kiss. Dusty's character, who happens to be Steve Martin, he's like, I'll come back someday. And she's like, why? And he goes, I thought, maybe you and me. And she goes, oh, okay. I just thought it was funny that he's like, I'll come back. She's like, why?
Yeah, why would you come back? El Guapo is gone.
And then they all kiss a girl and ride off into the sunset. So, spaghetti western, silly humor, but I grew up with it, and that's why I have some ties to it. So, your favorite? I said my favorite scene was dancing in the bar. What was yours?
Yeah, I think mine was probably the El Guapo. Like, your El Guapo might be your lack of education or whatever.
All right.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite part.
How about who you would be, and who would I be?
Oh, I don't know who you... No, never mind. I take that back. So I'd be one of the Germans, hopefully like the Red Baron, right? Like,
okay.
That's who I affiliated with. And you would definitely be Ned.
Okay. Well,
talking to the little kids while everybody else is getting their dick wet.
So... Fuck you.
You know I'm right, though.
True, but you're a dick. So I thought you would be El Guapo.
Oh, why's that?
And I'd be Jefe.
Hey, man. Yeah. We make good team. Yeah, that's true. I'd be like, who is that guy? And you'd be like, I'm Santiago. I'd be like, fuck Santiago.
All right. What do you think Rotten Tomatoes gave this movie?
This was tough. I don't know. Because I know I'm not a huge fan of this, but like I said, I feel like these three guys
Well, if you thought the audience bought it back in the day.
I do.
Yep.
I do. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I'm going to go with like 68%, which I think makes it just below certified fresh.
45.
Well, you didn't say your guess.
I didn't have a guess because I looked it up. I should have guessed before I looked it up.
So it's 45%?
45. So it's pretty low.
That is low. That's one of our lower ones.
Yep. And I get it. It just wasn't, if you think about it in terms of John Landis's other movies, it really did fall short.
Yeah.
I mean, Animal House, for crying out loud.
Right.
Have you seen Coming to America?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because that's a hilarious Eddie Murphy movie.
And that's the thing, is I think this movie had some good pieces to it. I just, overall, it was kind of a mess.
Yeah,
like
it definitely was.
Like I said, it needed another pass through the edit bay. If you trim this down to an hour and 20 minutes of, like, the highlights, I think this would be a completely different movie. Hi, Ollie.
All right.
He's pulling on my pop filter. You want to sit in my lap?
How about Hottest Babe? So
All right.
I'll go first.
Yes, please.
So she only made a very brief appearance.
Oh, I think we have the same girl then.
Ned's girl at the end.
White dress?
White, yeah.
Yeah.
She gave him a passionate kiss.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the thing. Sorry for that. That's Oliver pulling on the microphone. So yeah, that's the thing is, unlike most of our movies, there's actually a lot of eye candy in this movie,
Yep.
but I don't know any of them by name. So yeah, I would say it's probably the same chick.
I think
she
it
was
is.
wearing like a white dress and her tits were like pouring out of it. It was amazing. But like even the chick who said like El Guapo doesn't know what foreplay is.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was
Oh, yeah.
a bit of a butterface, but
Well, she was
damn, she had a smoking
She was
body.
older too.
She was,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I wouldn't have kicked any of the Mexican chicks out of bed. Like they were, even Carmen. I think Carmen was probably my least favorite,
Yeah,
but she was still
but
a pretty girl.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Can you stop touching that?
How about burger score?
Ooh, so for me, this was like a 2 out of 5.
Oh wow. Okay,
Yeah.
you gave him more than I thought you would.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a bad movie per se, but this is a movie I would never go back to. Like I've seen it, great, I can move on from it.
Gotcha.
What about you?
I gave it the same 2 out of 5.
Really? I am surprised by that
Yep,
because
well-
when this movie got popped up, you were very all right. Holly, you gotta go away. I love you. All right, I am surprised you gave it as low as a 2 out of 5 because when this movie came up on our randomizer, you were very excited.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Just because the nostalgia factor for me, but after watching it, and my palate has grown, it definitely can't rank up there with the 4s and 5s anymore.
Okay.
So, I think I'm a little bit more mature.
Yeah.
In at least that.
You have
aspect.
more of a refined palate now.
Yeah, I mean, I like brie cheese for crying out loud.
Goddamn right. I introduced Tim to Brie.
Yeah.
Oh, would the
to,
wives like it?
Yeah. I think Jill would fall asleep for sure. She'd like a little bit of the humor in it, but.
So for Heather, I don't think she would like it, and we did actually watch it together, and she did not like it. She was like, fucking Tim, he has the worst. What was that movie that you let us borrow?
Dude, that was a funny
What
movie.
was it, though?
Private Eyes.
That's it, yeah, Don Knotts. And we were
Yes!
like, what is wrong with Tim? And so I told Heather, I said, Tim didn't pick this one. This was randomized. I said, but he does hold it in high regard. She's like, what's wrong with him? So, yeah, she doesn't like it. I knew she wouldn't like it.
We got to work on her palate.
Yeah, but I didn't like it either.
All right, we got to work on yours too.
Okay.
All right. So what we'll do is we're going to have to randomize another time because we don't have the list with us. We're going to need the crowd for the next movie. What we need is you guys need to come up with a 70s movie, any movie. So
Oliver just grabbed the microphone and the pop filter and started talking. Say something. What sound does an airplane make? What sound does a dinosaur make? What sound does a cow make? What sound does a dog make? What sound does a cat make?
We have another. We have a meow. We have another request. One
is it?
Flew of the Cuckoo's Nest.
Okay.
We've done Halloween. If you were a fan, you'd know.
That was our first episode. Come at me. All right, pick one.
All right, you ready? All right. So we are going. All right, Ollie's gonna spin the randomizer. You ready, Ollie?
Say yeah.
Okay, Ollie, spin the randomizer. All right, folks. It looks like we're going to be doing, I don't know what year, but it's definitely from the 70s. And it is the Clint Eastwood film, Every Which Way But Loose. Have you seen this?
I have not. I have not.
Oh, my gosh. This is wicked funny. I'm not going to give any of it away, but Clint Eastwood stars with a baboon.
Like a literal monkey?
A literal baboon.
Shit, yeah. Let's do it.
All right. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. As always, check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Instagram. You know what? I'm even going to get us an ad in Hustler Magazine.
Because Tim has a subscription.
Because I have a subscription. All right. So hit us up. Let us know what you think. And, of course, always keep listening. Until then, I am Tim.
And I'm Thatcher. Bis später.
That's perfect.
I I like these guys. They are funny guys. Just kill one of them.